Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We will be discussing NXT from Tuesday, January the 21st, 2024. We don't have much in the way of news and notes, but we do have two things worth talking about. Both of them were mentioned on this show, but I guess they fit the news and notes category. One is that Corey Graves was on the show, and he says, "I'm here. I'm right where I want to be," which his only other option, I'm sure, was the unemployment line. So he acts exactly where he wants to be, because where he don't want to be is sitting on somebody's podcast explaining how he nuked his own job. Something tells me, and I barely heard him through the rest of the night, unless he was one of those guys that he did not speak unless he was spoken to. So the idea about whether what he was saying was work or a shoot, I'm pretty sure it was a shoot. And I think him being shoehorned onto NXT is proof that it was a shoot. Behind all the smiles was Corey Graves thinking, "Oh, please kill me. Please kill me. Please cut my head off, please. Slit my wrist from me vertically." In any event, so Corey Graves is still alive. It was very nice to see him still alive. Next week, NXT goes on the road to Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, this is cool because for years, this is where WCW filmed their WCW Saturday Night. And I think they used to film worldwide their syndicated television shows there as well. So that's pretty damn cool. Not enough people are going to make a big deal about it, but NXT running the old arena for Monday Night Raw and ECW, and now they're running an old arena for WCW. Very cool. I like to see this. All right, let's get into the meat of the show. I'm not going to get into too much detail about anything, just to get in and get out. Tony D'Angelo defeats Ridge Holland. He defeated Ridge Holland because Izzy Dame interfered and kicked Ridge Holland in the head. Now, Shawn Spears and his goons, because Shawn Spears does have goons apparently, they distracted Tony D'Angelo and the referee, and then they caused a fight. This led to a tag team match later on where Luca Crucifino and Stax actually lost to the goons of Shawn Spears. Tony D'Angelo wasn't quite understanding of why Izzy Dame came out there to help him. And so the two of them started to talk, and apparently she talked so much that Shawn Spears' team defeated his team in a tag team match, and Stax complained about it. Like, "Hey, Don, where were you? Where did you go? What are you doing?" And Tony D'Angelo was explaining, hey, he wanted to be there, but Izzy Dame was talking to him, and she just wouldn't shut the hell up. He should be smart enough to realize that she was a distraction. She was distracting you. Anyway, he got mad at Stax and said, "You've been the underboss for 2 years. You should be able to figure these things out by yourself." Which, the light bulb went off over my head like, hey, he is absolutely right. You should be able to figure these things out on your own after 2 years of being the underboss, the capo regime. Are you serious? You can't figure out how to win a match by yourself? That's an odd thing to do, man. Anyway, they're telling an interesting story about Izzy Dame. At first, she was refusing the assistance of Shawn Spears. Now she's aiding him indirectly. So she's playing with the family, perhaps going to pull the old switcheroo on Tony D'Angelo. So that ought to be fun. At least they're doing something with the young lady now. Izzy Dame always has some level of talent. She just wasn't really getting much. So now she's going to get something. Ridge Holland, though. Oh, boy. How the mighty have fallen. They let this guy kill Chase University only for him to lose to not only to Trick Williams, but now lost to Tony D'Angelo because a girl kicked him in the head. Bye-bye, Ridge Holland. So I guess he's on his way back to the main roster or unemployment, one or the other. All right. Wesley ended up mocking Deion Lennox. who says that he can't beat Obafemi because Deion Lennox thought that he could because he's a stupid guy. He's a very stupid man, profoundly stupid. Deion then challenged him to a match. Then Wesley decided to make fun of Trick Williams and got his face slapped. And he slapped that man so hard that nameplates started falling off the shelves in the locker room. It was crazy. It was just clickety clacking. You think he knocked over 100 pots and pans. It was great. This led to light skin on light skin violence as Wesley defeated Deion Lennox in their match. Afterwards, Wesley called out Trick Williams to fight him in Atlanta next week for more black on black violence. Trick Williams charged to the ring, wanted to fight him, but of course Wesley fled. Then he accepted the challenge, and then as he was going back, he bumped into Deion Lennox, just kind of shoulder checked him. You know how guys do. And Deion Lennox was like, "Oh, you think I'm a pussy? You think I'm a bitch?" He ain't do nothing, but he was mad for the rest of the night. He really had a bad attitude about it. We didn't see Trick Williams again until after the main event, after Obafemi made work of Eddie Thorpe. Then Trick Williams got in the ring and got in Obafemi's face, and that was interesting. So Wesley versus Deion Lennox. Oh, that Deion Lennox, man, he's in a difficult situation. A lot of people seem to like this guy. He might have some good energy or something, but he just comes across as being extremely green. I know he's been around at least a year, but I guess they're going to do something with him. They had him mixing it up with Wesley, and they got him mixing it up with Trick Williams. Maybe he's on the cusp of doing something. Maybe not. Who knows? I'm willing to give him the chance, but when he was the town gossip not too long ago, that didn't do him any favors. He was in the middle of girl drama. That wasn't doing him any favors. Wesley, man, he one of those super seniors up there with JC Jane. I think he's just going to float around until the end of time. He's going to be like roaches and cobwebs. He's going to be the last thing to leave that goddamn facility when they close it. Inamura and Josh Briggs thinks that Fraxium are ducking them. Fraxium said they ain't done nothing to deserve a tag team championship match, which is absolutely true, by the by. But neither did the Rascals, and they seem like they're going to get one. In any event, OTM showed up and they started a brawl. Because OTM, despite the fact that they're very bad, they actually look pretty decent in generic brawls. So there's that. And I don't know why. That was stupid, by the way. Speaking of stupid, Shawn Michaels must have heard my teeth chattering. He must have saw me scratching. He must have saw me looking all strung out. And he says, "I know what you need. I need some vitamin B." So he brought in more Bayley. This time, Bayley in purple. Now her hair is purple. Auntie Pam with purple hair. Purple hair Pam. I like Auntie Pam so much. But enough's enough. Enough's enough. She had a promo segment. Everybody loves Bayley. And she didn't have much to say. But this thing still felt like it went on forever. She says she cares about Roxanne Perez and her legacy. It says that all they got was her face slapped. But now she owes it to NXT to get rid of entitled idiots like Roxanne Perez. Julia actually interrupted Bayley, and she struggled, but she managed to get out that Bayley is her role model, and she looks up to Bayley, which everybody thought was very cute, especially since she barely got it out. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade then showed up. They're both very bad, especially at talking, but Roxanne Perez is trying very hard. They both make fun of Bayley. Cora Jade says at one point in time she was a naive Bayley fan, but Bayley is no role model, and that nobody cares or loves about NXT as much as the two of them. Roxanne Perez then gets on the microphone and says that today's NXT, the division that Roxanne Perez built, far exceeds the Four Horsewomen era. There was a lot of boos in this segment. There was a lot of consistent booing, which, kind of gave me the feeling that it not being real. But whatever it was, they took over this segment and it made it longer than it needed to be. And the girls are trying to talk over the boos. But again, I can't tell if those boos were legit or whether those boos were bullshit. I couldn't really tell. In any event, there was a fight, a brawl, and a tag team match set for next week, I suppose. Bayley floating around all these shows, just a sign that they don't know what to do with her. Hey, what do we do with Bayley? I don't know, just throw her on everything. But everybody's a Bayley addict now, Gotta get you some vitamin B, baby. You're gonna be stealing from your mama's purse in a second. You'll be breaking into houses, popping the back windows out of cars in a minute to get your Bayley fix. But Bayley and Roxanne Perez is fine, I don't really see Roxanne as being the equivalent of Bayley in NXT. It's not really a passing the torch moment. As much as they know Roxanne is not main roster ready yet. So they need something for her to do in NXT while not being the champion. And this seems like a stopgap feud fit to basically give her something to do while she's still down in NXT and give Bayley something to do now that she doesn't have a championship and that she's been beaten by both champions. At least I don't think she's lost to Rhea Ripley yet, but she might as well go ahead and lose to Rhea Ripley. So it's going to turn into a pretty decent match. It might pop a number on television, but I think the overexposure of Bayley is going to end up hurting that. As it was special that she showed up, I think the first time, but this is the second time she's been on the show. Look, I understand she's on there to build a match, which you have to be on the show to build a match. So maybe it'll work and they'll pop a number for this Roxanne Bayley stuff. But if not, then they'll just have Bayley go out there, stick a thermometer in Roxanne Perez's ass and see if she's ready for the main roster. But Cora Jade, not ready at all, actually. Not ready at all. Not ready at all, man. That one's undercooked. That's an undercooked turkey right there, brother. She needs this TNA thing to really work out. While Julia, Bayley, Roxanne, and Cora are fighting in the ring, there's a fight in the locker room because Jada Parker and Kalani Jordan have started arguing. This turns into Carmen Petrovich and Jada Parker arguing. Jada Parker's just being very testy, which is kind of in character for her, as she is baby and getting in people's faces and telling them about themselves. This led to Carmen Petrovich versus Jada Parker in a match later in the show. And I got weird vibes, extremely weird vibes from this Jada Parker thing. For starters, they changed her theme song, so it's not the same theme as it was before. I didn't like that they changed it. And then she lost this match. Now, she lost because Kalani Jordan, who she had gotten into an argument with earlier in the night, had distracted her, and Carmen Petrovich rolled her up from behind. But all of this, changing her theme song, which kind of affected her fan reaction, I think, and her losing to Carmen Petrovich, who virtually never wins, even though it was a distraction roll-up. Very suspicious coming off the heels of this whole transphobia phenomenon that she was caught up in the middle of. Seems all very suspicious. Look, when it comes to somebody like Jada Parker, man, and look, I know she didn't win a lot anyway, but Carmen Petrovich is definitely the level of opponent she would have beaten 3 weeks ago. Handily, without question. She didn't need much help to beat a Carmen Petrovich. Now that not only is she not winning, but she's losing. That's very suspicious, like I said. But I'm not gonna throw that on Sean yet. I know he's becoming a little bit of an SJW as he gets older. And I know there might be some people there who maybe they didn't appreciate what she did and the things that she was saying. Same time though, you don't want to ruin what people are really enjoying because you don't like her political opinion, at least on that subject. Let's not ruin this. I'm trying not to get too paranoid about it. We'll see how far it goes. But I do like the pairing of Kalani and Jada Parker going against each other. That could be fun. Them working against one another. Next, we got Lexis King. They showed a Lexis King video package, basically telling his entire story so far. And this is what I like about WWE level storytelling, is that it follows the individual story of the performer. Not always the individual story of the two guys involved, but what each character is in the match to do. Lexis King's entire story is that he wanted to be something other than what his father is. He wanted to surpass his father. He wanted to, be more than just some loose cannon. So he wanted to win a championship in WWE, which his dad had never done. And he wanted to do it the right way, by not cheating. And he achieved that. He won the Heritage Cup without cheating. And he won a championship in WWE, which his dad had never done. But because this situation they kept screwing him around. So he kept having to wrestle Charlie Dempsey. He won the championship first by disqualification. And then he retained it because of an accidental headbutt to the nuts. So he's kind of frustrated at this point. So they have I think this is the 4th or 5th match in their series. He's wrestled quite a few times, actually. But Lexis King defeated Charlie Dempsey once and for all. But this time, Lexis King kicked Charlie Dempsey in the nuts on purpose. So you got the vignette where he's talking about wanting to do things the right way. He doesn't want to cheat. And you knew that ultimately, in order to get what he wants, in order to keep what he wants, he was going to have to break his word. And he finally did it. He kicked that man in the nuts on purpose, won with the coronation. And they didn't do any follow-up. There was no follow-up interview, which they probably should have done, just to let the moment sink in even more. And, some other people, because when Lexis King won, they did some interviews of people, patting him on the back, hey, I'm proud of you, even though you lost, you did your best, that kind of stuff. They should have did something similar here, like once he cheated and managed to win, that people were like, oh, that's how you doing things now? You hitting people in the nuts? And, that would have been nice. But anyway, solid outing. Stephanie Vaquer cuts a promo in English. She wants the North American title, so that if Shotzi wins it, she's going to fight Shotzi. And that Fallon Henley can't run forever. We get a promo segment from Naomi and Bianca Belair. The two people who are going to wrestle next week on this show. It would have been nice if they'd have featured them as much as they featured Pam. But they didn't. Anyway, they said they're going to fight the Meta Girls. The Meta Girls are in the locker room. They're surrounded by all the other women in the locker room. So like Zarya and Sol Ruka and the Chemical X Girls and everybody. And they're tasked with being the saviors of NXT. They're told, we want those championships back in NXT. Those tag team titles. We want them back in the best division in WWE. And they said the Meta Girls have the opportunity to go out there and get them. Lash Legend talks about wrestling in front of her family and friends in Atlanta, where she comes from. And it's going to be great opportunity for her. And you know what? This is a big deal. And it should be treated like a bigger deal. Bianca Belair remains that she is the most marketable and one of the top level female wrestlers in the world. And she's treated like an afterthought, even on NXT. How crazy is that? You would think a WrestleMania main eventer being on NXT would generate a bigger deal. Except she's being put in a backstage pre-taped interview to make a challenge for 1 week in advance. Not on television week after week to kind of generate some kind of attention for this thing. Similar, compared to what they did with Becky Lynch when she was on the show. Compared when they did with Rhea Ripley when she was on the show. Well, Rhea Ripley, she kind of did backstage stuff too. Compared to what they're doing right now with Bayley. Why in the world is Bianca Belair going to wrestle on this show and it's not really fully built up? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's stupid. It's just, quite frankly, it's stupid as shit. Andre Chase tells Hank and Tank that they need to break up because all tag teams end in heartbreak. Oh, by the way, Hank and Tank, they won the tag team championships in Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. I literally just watched that occur. Very interesting stuff because I don't think it was even mentioned on this NXT program. And Reality of Wrestling is in WWE ID system. So why wouldn't they mention that they're the tag team champions of Reality of Wrestling? I don't know. I don't know. Why wouldn't they do that? That should have been something that they should have talked about. Anyway, some kid told Andre Chase, after being told that Chase University is over, that it doesn't have to be. It's only over if you want it to be. Whatever. There's a vignette for Ethan Page as he discussed, once more, busting up Javon Evans' jaw. Javon Evans is hanging out with Ava. He wants to fight, but he's not medically cleared. Ava then turns around and says that Cedric Alexander is medically cleared and will fight on his behalf. I said Ethan Page has already beaten Cedric Alexander. And it wasn't that long ago. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago. It literally wasn't that long ago that he beat the shit out of Cedric Alexander already. Ava, do you have amnesia? Are you thinking that all of a sudden you're back in what was the name of that group she was in? With Joe Gacy and them? You've already done this. You ran this back already. Next, NXT Championship. Obafemi defeats Eddie Thorpe. Match was okay. Eddie Thorpe got more offense in than I probably would have liked, but really kind of showcased Obafemi. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller were watching this match. And they were watching this match because they are going to host a Grayson Waller effect in Atlanta next week featuring the NXT champion. So they both were standing there watching to see which one of these two were going to be hosted on the Grayson Waller effect. Now, something tells me that this is a soft push of these two guys in NXT. And you know what? If you're not going to use them on SmackDown, I'm fine with you using them in NXT, especially Austin Theory. You need more top level guys, and I think both of these guys have a ton of potential. I don't think either one of them should beat Obafemi, because Obafemi, if he's going to lose, he should lose to somebody who has a real future. But if you just want to use those two guys to sort of get 2 more title defenses out of Obafemi, I like it. I know Austin Theory is a really good opponent for Obafemi as well. So after that match, of course, Obafemi is confronted with Trick Williams. And that's what we get when we go off the air. A stare down between Trick Williams and Obafemi. So NXT was all right this week. It wasn't a banger week. It wasn't a great week. But it was okay. Still fairly solid show, even though I did find it somewhat boring due to some of the matches being uninteresting to me. I mean, I wasn't really all that interested in the Brooks Jensen stuff, and Nico Vance, whoever that guy is. I really didn't care about Deion Lennox and Wesley either. But, NXT is still a fun show to watch. It just wasn't ludicrous this week, which is my favorite version of NXT, is when the show was ridiculous. Next week, it might be fun. It might be a little bit more ridiculous next week. They certainly could have used some TNA crossover, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't actually go with that. I know that they're doing some TNA crossovers on TNA this week, as Fraxion will wrestle the Rascals, but they're not doing any TNA talent on NXT, which is kind of a thing that they should do more, especially for the tag team championships, especially for the X Division title. I think the X Division title could really be a standout belt for NXT talent to wrestle for. I know that means they have to wrestle Moose, but I mean, why not? It's better than ended up in the ring with, well, I guess you end up in the ring with Brian Myers eventually if you wrestle Moose. Oh, that's not a good idea. You know what? I changed my mind. Never mind. But this wasn't a ridiculous show. I would have preferred a little bit more ridiculousness. But like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.